going to show you how to tie a figure eight knot, and the special kind of knot we're going to tie is a retraced figure eight knot, and that's useful for tying into a harness if you're in a group of people who are roped together on a glacier. Somehow you've got to get that rope tied in to the harness, and the figure eight knot's a good way to do it, especially for the end people on the ropes, and sometimes even for the middle people on the ropes, and I'll show you the difference in a little bit. But the first thing you'll do is you'll take your rope, and you want to give yourself enough rope that the figure eight knot ends up in a location where you have quite a bit of rope left over in order to get it through your harness and then retrace the figure eight knot. So in this example, we're not going to use a real thick piece of climbing rope. I just have this cord. We'll start the knot, say 1.5 feet or so from the end. We make a twist in the rope. Okay, so twist the rope, twist it 1/2 more time, and then tuck the sharp end of the rope back through. And what you end up with is a figure eight knot. So you can kind of see the 8 shape going on there. So that's your figure eight knot, but you're not finished yet, because what you want to end up doing is threading this part of the rope through your harness in order to tie in using the figure eight knot. And so I have a harness set up right here. If you imagine this piece of wood is the climber, this is the waist belt of the harness, and then you have the 2 leg loops. Here's one leg loop over here, one leg loop here. So the legs of the climber will be coming through those leg loops, and oftentimes you'll have a belay loop right here holding these 2 pieces of webbing together, the webbing that makes up the waist belt as well as the webbing that makes up this bottom leg loop webbing. We don't have a belay loop on this particular harness. I just have a carabiner. That doesn't matter, because all we want to do is get this rope tied into the harness. And so what you would do then is you would tie both soft points of the harness. So these webbing parts are called the soft points of the harness. You would come through the harness with the sharp end of the rope, and then you retrace the 8. And when I say retrace, I mean that you will just follow the rope that comes from the knot to the harness. You'll just follow that rope in reverse with the sharp end. So you'll come up through the figure 8, you'll follow and go around, come back down, and around again. So you'll basically just retrace everything that you just did. And of course, we dress the knot so it looks nice. And we'd probably want to leave a little more tail on that rope so we can tie an overhand knot just for security down here. But that's the figure 8 retraced. So you start with just a normal figure 8, and then once you come through the harness, you just follow the path of the original knot with the sharp end and end up with a very secure knot. That's easy to inspect because you can clearly tell that it looks like a figure 8 knot. This is a distinctive pattern it forms, so you can easily inspect your partner and figure out if they tied their knot correctly or not. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So if let me undo the knot real quick. Let's say that your harness setup is such that you do have a carabiner that's through the 2 soft points, and you want to tie into the carabiner with a figure 8 knot. And so in that case, we would tie a figure 8 on a bite. So a bite of rope, again, is when you just have a loop of rope like this. So this would be the bite of rope. You have the sharp end hanging down and the rest of the rope going this way. If you have the bite of rope, do the same type of knot with this bite of rope. You'll cross the rope over itself, give it another half twist, and tuck the bite of rope back through the half twist, after you make the half twist, and you end up with your figure 8 knot and a loop of rope coming out of the figure 8 knot. Now that loop of rope can go right into the carabiner, and now you're tied in again. And of course, with a long tail like this, you'd want to tie that off for a little extra security with an overhand knot. Okay, so there's your figure 8, there's your loop in the bite of rope going through a carabiner. Now I hope you can tell that if you build the knot this way, outside of the harness, there's no way to get it through the soft points of the harness now. So this is not a good way of doing it if you're going to want to put the knot through the soft points of the harness. This bite technique only works when you're going to put it through a carabiner through your harness. All right, so work on your figure 8 knots so you can tie into your harness on the Glacier.